望下條海係太闊啦，只有死路一條。當時都係自己諗，條海咁闊，點樣游啊？水之前大家都係擁抱一陣，跟住就落水，足以喺條海度漂浮咗8個鐘。
Between 1950 and 1997, it's estimated that tens of thousands of men and women from communist mainland China swam to Hong Kong. Many perished, many succeeded, but all left their homes in search of a better life. They were called freedom swimmers. In 1979 alone, more than 10,000 made it across the water alive to Hong Kong. One of them was Lee Yat-kung.
喺嗰個生活入邊啦，係真係好，當時大陸係真係一窮二白，佢會令到全中國7億人民咧，個個都係綁住個肚皮去幹活。呢樣嘢令到我就係話，由細到大就開始有一種向往自由。
Large numbers of young Chinese people who'd come of age in the chaos of the Cultural Revolution had a burning desire to risk everything to escape to Hong Kong. Economically strong, culturally free, for many on the mainland, the allure of Hong Kong proved too attractive to resist.
咁當時喺廣州市啦，偷渡啦係好大鑊㗎，白天一定唔能夠行路，因為當時有民兵，有邊防軍，民兵就唔會同你講嘢，邊防軍啦就會用槍掃射㗎，係黑掹掹一片，全部都係魚塘、農田、耕地、水溝、浩田。我哋一共係5個人，就足之就嚟到係最邊防嘅福田區。
That night, in July 1979, Lee and his friends decided to swim across Deep Bay, located on the western side of Hong Kong's maritime border with the mainland. Swimmers had to evade patrol boats of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, endure freezing temperatures, and avoid razor-sharp oyster beds. They'd also have to dodge the watchful gaze of Hong Kong's Marine Police, tasked with countering the rise in illegal immigration.
You've got to remember that they were incredibly malnourished. They'd be actually weak and not really in a condition to make that swim.
Les Bird had arrived, fresh-faced, in Hong Kong in 1977 to embark upon what would end up being a storied 30-year career with the Royal Hong Kong Police Force. He was on the boats looking for illegal immigrants struggling in the water.
They get halfway across, find out that they were totally and utterly exhausted, and if they lost their flotation device, they would drown. And then also in the winter, it was incredibly cold, and if you're in the water for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, you suffer from hypothermia and you die. There were sharks, and sometimes we actually did pull people out who'd been attacked by sharks. There were bodies every day. It would be very rare for us not to find at least one dead body on an overnight patrol. Usually we would find them in the morning, because if someone drowns, they go to the bottom and then they float, after a couple of days, they float back up to the top, but not actually on the surface. just under the surface, so at night you can't actually see a dead body in the water. And there'd be the following morning, when we'd be doing our last sweep of the bay, looking for people who were still swimming, we would find a dead body, sometimes in the water, sometimes on the beach, and quite often fishermen would flag us down and point to their nets, and they'd been fishing and they'd pulled up someone who'd drowned.
As a junior officer in 1979, Inspector Bird would spend his nights on Marine Police frontline duties in Deep Bay, trying to find, stop, and save freedom swimmers in the blackness of the night.
There's no natural light other than possibly moonlight. It was quite an eerie sensation, and we would patrol on a very, very low gear, which meant there was no sound, and it was like drifting through darkness. The atmosphere was silence, tension, and then of course when you actually catch them, you encompass this sadness and fatigue from their side as well. It was an odd dynamic for me to be tasked with the job of catching people of similar age and similar outlook to myself probably, and then sending them back. They were always hoping they would make it, hope that even when we pulled them out that they would be allowed to stay, hope that they could make it across. In many, many cases it was hopeless because of all the disadvantages they faced trying to come across the cold, the long swim, the sharks, the patrols on both sides. But hope was always in their eyes.
This hope fueled the flow of swimmers into the water, but the reality of the crossing was often more horrifying than they had prepared for.
嗰晚落咗海，海面上不斷咁漂流，有啲物體。初初都以為啲係大家同埋一齊偷渡，長頭髮有一個啦，有一個咧係已經浸咗好耐㗎啦，成個氣球咁肥咗。行到去面前，佢仲嗌聲：喂，你快啲游啦！你唔仲要睇睇，已經係冇晒生命，冇晒性。呢啲係好感觸。為乜原因？我哋年青人咧，為咗生活，死喺條海度冇。其中有兩個隸屬於一個係自己嘅童年最好嘅朋友，到今日42年啦，死無全屍。喺條海度，我哋係煎皮咀上岸，福田煎皮咀，好痛苦嗰晚，即係自己都係死過翻生，係用一點意志話俾你聽，一種意志就話我要離開社會主義。我對於一個即係呢個生活，我係好討厭啦。我就算死我都死落去海度，就係呢一樣嘢。望到流浮山所有係好光嘅光芒，好似一粒星咁樣。之後咧，嗰種戰鬥力、嗰種奮鬥力係無可代替到嘅。
Lee had risked everything to get to Hong Kong in search of a better life, and like thousands of other freedom swimmers, he blended into the rich fabric of the city, adopting its ethos of hard work equaling economic success.
咁我都好感激、好感恩、好感恩上天，好感恩即係有香港呢笪地方，即係話俾自己係棲身。